So thank you all for joining us here for our second sharing session following up on Giving Tuesday. And we're on the WebEx platform, so you can see us here in the room. It's myself, Clark McCain, and our president, Mike Hennessy, president of the Coleman Foundation.
Afternoon, everyone.
And,
Afternoon. Hi.
Very excited that you're all here to participate in this hour or so that we'll be together. We want to share a few things here up front, and this is a presentation, much of which was given at a Donors Forum meeting a few weeks ago that just provided some background on a comprehensive look at our matching grant program. But really, more importantly, we want to open it up to all of you so that you have a chance to share with one another the things that you did, the things that worked, things that were challenges, and then at the end of the call to help us a little bit with thinking about what might be appropriate going forward. So I'm going to walk through this presentation at a pretty good pace, and it'll give us, just a place to kind of start with when we begin to converse with one another. So we have a base of grantee organizations, many of which are very significantly funded by the state of Illinois, and we recognize that particularly here this year is a very challenging place to be for organizations. And so we were looking for ways to help those organizations diversify funding streams and expand beyond what are some kind of traditional approaches, such as annual events and annual appeals, things of that nature. And additionally, we wanted to cultivate collaboration among grantees, and we do that in a variety of ways. And today's a kind of an example of that. So our Giving Tuesday grants program was really something that we felt could advance those goals and help the organizations that we seek to fund and support. So last year, and a number of you were involved in this program, in 2013, I should say, year before last, we provided a matching grant to 19 organizations that would match on a dollar-for-dollar basis everything that they raised online on Giving Tuesday of 2013, up to $20,000 per organization. And in total, those 19 organizations raised over $600,000 from more than 2,000 donors, and the average gift that was, or the average amount of money in total that was raised was about $30,000. We had some organizations that significantly exceeded that, pulling the average up. So the median, the number right in the middle of those 19, was about $25,000, and we ended up paying matching grants in the total of about $330,000. And 75%, about three-quarters of the organizations that were involved, fully met that match opportunity of $20,000. So they raised at least $20,000 on that day. So we thought that was a really positive experience. We wanted to do something to build on that in the following year. And we, as you all know, started this program, which is a little bit different. The intent was the same, to try to encourage your organizations to develop capacity to raise funds from individuals using online social media methods and channels, and particularly to focus on new donors. So we felt that it was very possible that some of the money that we encouraged and supported that came in 2013 would have come in anyway. And so how could we more targeted, in a more targeted way, support the acquisition of new donors? So the match was different this year, as you all know. It was up to $15,000 matching new donors as defined by individual organizations. And we recognized that we could not ask you to prove that a donor was new, so we needed to defer to you to tell us what you felt new was. And in some instances, that was a brand new donor. In other instances, it was a lapsed. So we respect your way of defining that category. The results in 2014 we felt very good about. Again, we had going from 19 to 41 organizations involved, so significant increase in the number of participants and an increase in the number of dollars raised. In total, those 41 organizations, almost $900,000, $861,000 from more than 4,200 donors. And the average raise per organization was less in total last year. So the average was about $21,000, and again, the median, the number right in the middle of those 41 was $13,000. So clearly the response per organization was a little bit lower, but in total, what we were very excited about is that more than a third of those donations came from new donors, really significant percentage, about 2,500 out of 4,200, so that's actually about 60% were from new donors, so individuals respond to the match. And somewhat ironically, we paid out almost exactly the same dollar amount in matching grants, $330,000 to the 41 organizations. So if you think about that from an organizational standpoint, there were fewer organizations that fully maximized the match. There were only 15% of organizations that hit the $15,000 large prior year. And, I think we are getting a little bit of background noise on the phone, so if you can put your phone on mute, we appreciate it.
Okay, and, I'm not on.
Okay. And then interestingly, kind of point of information, there were 17 organizations that were involved in the 2013 program that came back in 2014, and those 17 saw their total donations actually decline about 18%. So we can talk about, whether your organization was one of those or what the dynamics might have been, but on an organization basis, we definitely saw for the repeaters, a little bit of decline in total collections and a decline in the total match payment. But if you think about it from our standpoint, 2013, $610,000 was raised, and it required $330,000 in matching grants to generate that. This year, we paid the same amount out in matching grants, and $860,000 was raised. So if you think about kind of where we sit, it looks like we actually had a more productive spend of our matching grant dollars. So we did a survey, and many of your organizations responded to that survey. We had 39 of the 41 organizations that were involved respond to that, and we just want to show a few slides here to give a little bit of a sense as to what responses were. But we asked this first question, which was really the key question in our mind. This was our goal. We were trying to increase your capacity to raise funds online from new donors, particularly using social media challenge. And on a 4-point scale, ranging from, you had no increase to you experienced a significant increase, the average score was about a 3 out of 4. So clearly there was some capacity increase in place. And you can see some of the verbatim responses that folks had. But in total, here at a top-line level, we felt like we did help you to develop a new capacity to raise funds. And then we asked about our matching grant, the degree to which that was important in the campaigns that you ran. As we think about the way that we can support your organizations, the matching grants are one way to do it. Maybe there are others. So we wanted to get a perspective on really how critical was the matching grant offer. And clearly the response was it was very important. So again, on a 4-point scale, 3/4 or 2/3 of respondents said it was essential. So that was important guidance to us, and you can see some of the verbatims here that people responded with. But it does appear the matching grant was an important element of the campaign. We asked about which social media vehicles you used in your campaign, and almost everyone was on Facebook. 2/3 of folks or more were on Twitter, and then a few organizations used Instagram, LinkedIn, and some other vehicles. But it looks like we were pretty much where the typical social media activity is on those main destinations and channels. Then we asked a question about efficiency. To what degree is this a good, efficient way to generate new donors from your organizations? And far and away, it appears that it is. The significant number of responses said that the total cost, all-in cost of these types of this type of campaign was less than 10% of what was raised. So it really did appear to be a pretty efficient way to generate resources from new donors and others. There were some others that were outliers there. So clearly, this was not a universally efficient campaign, but the vast majority did indicate that costs were relatively low compared to what was raised. And then kind of finally, we asked a question based on our experience last year. Last year, we weren't really sure whether Giving Tuesday was incremental or was accretive to what organizations did in terms of their year-end fundraising. We thought maybe a lot of stuff that came in on Giving Tuesday would have come in at the end of the year, but was just pulled forward in the year. So we wanted to get a better sense of this. And it does appear, as best as respondents were able to reply, that Giving Tuesday did not, was not cannibalizing year-end activity. In fact, there were increases that took place year over year. And some folks did say, hey, it's hard to know about this, we're not sure. But a significant number of organizations said that really Giving Tuesday drove increases in fundraising. So those were some of the questions that we asked, and I put those out there just as kind of a conversation starter and a way to kind of think about what we might want to talk about today. But I really would like to kind of open it up to the group, and we can start that potentially with a question that we did ask in the survey. And we asked a question about your most successful tactic. What was the thing that really worked for you? And so I'll leave this on the screen, and we don't necessarily have to start with this, but I'll open it up to the group and ask you, if there's anyone who'd like to kind of share their experience and either questions they have or things that they want to present to other folks on the call, to begin the sharing on this topic. So if someone would like to go first, feel free to jump right in.
This is Melody Rockefort at Healing Pathways. I'd be happy to share our experience. This was our first year being a part of this campaign, and we really tied it in to our year-end campaign and our year-end board appeal. We sent a letter to the board with normal appeal information and emphasized the importance of giving as much as they could be content giving because of the match, and that we would be opening up to our full constituents list as well, and that we wanted to really make an impact here. We did a 10-day campaign leading up to the event day. We used a chalkboard every single day, created a video, and the person holding the chalkboard wrote why they were going to participate, a message to the public. I am giving on Giving Tuesday to Healing Pathways because we know the impact that every single dollar has on the guests that attend. Everyone had a different message. We let them write their own message. We did it beginning with our youth group so that they could share that coming to Healing Pathways to participate in the youth group was so beneficial to them when they're living with a parent who is suffering from cancer. It really crossed the entire spectrum. We could not ourselves have written better messages, so they were true and to the heart and very direct as to why they needed to give. We gave board members opportunities. The landlord of our building actually did the same. It ended up being such a positive friend maker and really touched us dramatically with the amount that we were expecting to raise, but having brought in new donors because of the way we use social media to lead up to the event. So we're really pleased. We're a very small and relatively new 501c3 organization, so it was a really outstanding event for us for the year.
Great. Thanks, Melody.
Could I ask a question? Melody,
sure.
How much was your staff involved? Were you one of the ones using a lot of volunteer time on this, or were you, what percentage of your staff?
We actually, to answer your question, the 10-day kind of ramp up with the messages, with the chalkboard and the videos being posted every single day. We have 3 staff members that are, we have a total of 5 staff people, and most of those, there's only 1 full-time at that time. and that's myself, the executive director. But we used our part-timers one was responsible for posting it as an admin to Facebook, one posted it on our website, and we then made a small in-house print of every message so that each day when guests came in, they saw it displayed in the front. So very minimal, I have to say. It was not time-consuming at all for us. And, you know, especially when you look on the return on the investment, you know, it was really fun.
Okay. Thank you.
Great. If I notice we have a number of folks that have joined the call here since we got started, so welcome. Glad you can be with us. If you want to kind of jump in with a question or something that you want to share, feel free to do that. If you'd prefer, there's also a little button that allows you to raise your hand, and I'd be happy to identify you if you want to raise your hand. Otherwise, feel free to just jump in and share.
Hi, this is Tracy. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll go next. Go ahead,
Tracy. Go ahead.
Okay. We both said go ahead at the same time, so I both said. But this is Tracy Frizzell from the Economic Awareness Council. And I apologize, I got stuck on a call with the FDIC, and we do financial and entrepreneurship education. And so they're a key partner on both initiatives, actually, because they do a lot of work in both areas. So I apologize, but we found this a great initiative to be involved in. Like Melody was saying, we found the messages from our clients, our youth participants, to be most meaningful in terms of motivating people to give. We really found that they were able to be heavily involved in actually driving the messages for this initiative. So we're also a small organization, but we do lead a large internship program that focuses on entrepreneurship and financial education. So by the nature of their program, they're already really heavily involved in running the business of their specific initiative, which is a youth-focused magazine. And this was a great way to have them involved in creating messaging, learning what a giving campaign was all about, learning what Giving Tuesday was about, and they really took a lot of ownership for this, and so that was really exciting to see, and we found it a great return on investment, not only for dollars raised, but honestly in terms of positive learning experience, and we felt like, you know, both the youth and the individuals contributing really felt good about the experience. So we definitely plan to do it again. My question was, we're trying to do a lot to stay in touch with the donors throughout the year, and I was curious what other people were doing and what they found effective in terms of, we got a lot of new donors through this, which I know was the intention, but we want to make sure that, you know, stay engaged with those people so they remain donors. So.
Yeah, that's a great question, Tracy. Is there somebody who wants to talk about retention activities they're undertaking?
This is Patty, and I'll respond to that, too, from the Center for Independence. One of the things that we did this year is, well, firstly, we used a lot of the Donors Forum information, which took literally minutes to convert the donors' templates into something that was really personal to the center. So I thought that was a really great tool that the Donors Forum had out there. I think it took our staff, who I wouldn't say are that tech-savvy, about 20 minutes to make it look like something that was developed by the center and for the center. And we didn't do as much blasting this year on Facebook. We blasted through our content maybe twice, the day before and the day of. We did a constant contact blast, and then we posted maybe 2 or 3 times on our Facebook this year. Opposed to last year, we were novices at it, and we might have posted 25 times. And I wasn't even sure if we got really irritating last year, but we ended up raising just as much this year as we did last year. Our challenge was that the Give Tuesday runs very close to our large annual fundraiser. So my concern originally was that I didn't think that we were going to raise much because of it, but we actually ended up raising just as much as we did last year. And I think it's because our culture in general, Americans are getting to understand that brand and that idea of Give Tuesday. And I think as we move forward, I think we're going to see more Americans give on Give Tuesday, and I'm really excited about that potential too. That this is a national experience, and I'm hoping that I'm starting to believe that it's actually getting into the psyche of Americans before that holiday season. And then when we had a donor, we added their email address to our constant contact list. So last year, our constant contact list has quadrupled, both from last year's Give Tuesday and also this year, and also the fact that we are doing more online fundraising. So while we still have a paper newsletter that we mail out, we're trying to convert our newsletters now to constant contact blasts. So every time somebody gives us a donation via media or the internet or PayPal, we capture their email address. So we're slowly being able to convert so that conversation and communication with our more efficient and cost effective. This was incredibly inexpensive. At least it was.
I'm sorry, Patty. Can I just ask if anyone else is on the line but not speaking, if you could try to mute your phone? We're getting a little bit of feedback, so we'd appreciate that. But, Patty, thanks for sharing. Is there anyone else who's kind of got a retention activity or retention strategy underway, or way in which they're working to respond to these new donors that have come into the organization?
This is Dawnine. I had watched a webinar that Blackbaud had put out recently. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it was related to retention of loving your current donors or something to that effect. And one of the things that they had suggested, which they had tested and found a substantial increase in retention of new donors, was making a phone call to thank them, all new donors, whether it be from a volunteer, a development officer, another staff member, you know, whoever it was, and giving them a call and just thanking them, not making an ask, but just calling them. And then shortly after that, they encouraged if you wanted to provide them some additional material that you may not have provided them in the past, like you might have like a packet you send to new donors. But if you don't have something like that, to give them some additional follow-up information. And so I'm hoping to see an increase in the retention of, because we had quite a few new donors that were people that I'm not sure would be retained unless we made some additional efforts. And I say that because many of the people that happened to be giving to us were related to a memorial for a grandfather of a young girl that had cerebral palsy. And so those types of individuals won't necessarily continue giving to you, but if you could touch their hearts, they might see that it's beneficial. So anyway,
yeah,
that's something.
That's a good comment, Dawnine. In fact, I know Tim Murai is on the phone, and Tim, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we actually received a call at the foundation from someone from Tim's organization thanking us for our donation as donors on Giving Tuesday. So, Tim, I don't know if you're kind of aware of that or, you know, involved with that, but if you are, do you want to comment?
Yeah, Clark, I was actually just about to jump in after Dawnine. That's something that we've been doing. We're fortunate we have a volunteer who has been involved with a lot of charities over course of several years, and she's been somebody that we've been utilizing for really any type of new donors. So the Giving Tuesday donors fall underneath that, and then major donors, she just gives a call out to thank them, and really just a way to try to get that that extra touch, as Doneen said, where a lot of people are very surprised where if they're just getting a general thank you call, even if it's only for $10, $15, $20 gift, and they're not getting followed up with an ask right away, they seem to really appreciate that, and we've noticed that that's really been effective for us.
Great, thanks, Tim.
Oh, no problem.
Anyone else want to share their experience?
I will. This is Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Okay. Our experience was, I don't remember what the exact stats were, but we were one of the organizations that did not do quite as well this year. And we focused almost all of our activity online, and what we did offline was all kind of, like we would print up flyers, but the flyers had a QR code on them directing people to our Giving Tuesday page. And we gave those to all of our staff and all of our families, and even gave them extra ones to hand out to other staff and families. We did a few different e-blasts, and we actually used the month of November leading up to Giving Tuesday to do a online fan campaign. We built up our Facebook audience by 1,000 new fans and got over 500 new Twitter followers in that time frame, all to kind of give us as big of an audience as possible leading into Giving Tuesday. And then on Giving Tuesday, I don't think we did as nice of a job as what Melody was talking about, but we unveiled our top 10 most enjoyed videos from our video site, and we announced those every hour or so, and then we interspersed some updates on our giving. And the final piece we did was, because the Coleman grant was only for new donors, we wanted to have a consistent message to our entire audience. So we challenged our board to put up an additional $15,000 matching grant to match all donations from existing donors. And so we thought we had a pretty good plan in place. We ended up raising a total of less money than last year, not a lot less, but a little bit less. And we more than exceeded our match for existing donors, but I think we had something like $2,600, $2,600 from new donors. I think total of about 28 or 29, 28 new donors total. And that was surprising and a little of a defeat, it felt like, at the end of the day, particularly because of all those efforts we had put in and all the planning that we had done to get up to that day. We ended up having our best December on record for giving total, even though our giving was a little bit down for that one day. But we have already, the reason we like the fact that Coleman did a new donor-only match is because it really challenges us to think about how we're going to do this kind of activity in a way that's going to be effective, because I think for all of us, new donors are very, very important, particularly in diversifying our revenue stream. And we are looking at next year. We already have a plan. Each of them has several different program areas, I think 3 main ones. So what we're going to do next year is offer up a few different areas for giving so that you could give toward new technology for a school perhaps, or a new program for adult services program, something like that, where they'll have very specific giving opportunities that will give an incentive to our families and our staff to spread the word more, because we feel like that's where we probably fell short the most.
Great, thanks, Dan.
Yep.
Does anyone else want to follow on that or ask a question?
Clerk, I just wanted to share one real thing that it's Tim Young from Easter Seals that we noticed with what was going on with us this year is we had a lot of great activity on our Facebook page in terms of people liking and really sharing and spreading the word about our campaign. But one of the things I think that we noticed in doing this, and the Coleman Foundation sort of helped shed a light on it for us, is that we understand a little bit better now that our new donor stream isn't as active as we would like it, and especially using the social media, we still have a ways to go to try to figure out how do we transition people from joining the cause to say, oh, I support Easter Seals and Giving Tuesday, to actually physically going to the site, making even a $5 donation. Because we did get a lot of traction, a lot of people really getting involved and liking it, but it didn't translate to as many dollars as we were hoping, and it's going to force us to think, okay, when we do this again next year, how can we really capture that younger audience that we really are sorely lacking when it comes to donors?
Good, Tim, thanks.
This is Melody. I might want to add something to that. What I didn't mention, we did the chalkboard videos, but we really did want to tap into a really young donor population, and the ones that are just constantly on social media. So we posted a video. We actually just filmed it in-house with an iPad of myself pretending to be a holiday shopper and coming in with all these bags, and they're just falling all over the place. And we walked into a room that we have here that kind of looks similar to the inside of someone's home, and I had my bookkeeper sitting at the table as if he were my husband, and I came in it started with, before I even got into the eye shot of the camera, just complaining about how crazy it was out there and how shopping was just overwhelming these days, and how I wish we could just do things, to gift people, say I'm going to donate $20 for my parents, rather than shopping for a Christmas gift. And so it actually was a pretty hysterical video of just me kind of falling in the door and sitting down, and he's going, oh my gosh, here she comes. And we made it so comedic that we immediately just got email after email saying, oh my God, that's the most hysterical thing you've ever posted. And then turned around and ended our campaign in the exact same way. I said to him, shopping's ridiculous. Why don't we just give gifts in honor or in memory of people this year? And he said, oh, that's a great idea. So at the end of the campaign, after the day was over, we did another video just saying, aren't you glad we did that? Do you remember how many people said it was the most meaningful gift that they had ever received, and how that they were going to start doing the same thing rather than being out there and beating the streets and going to the stores. So I think that kind of tapped into, for whatever crazy reason, into some of the young, the 20-somethings that whose families have been engaged with us, and they must have shared them within the household or whatever. But that really contributed to a whole group that we weren't tapping into previously, but we had ways of connecting, through someone else on that. So.
That's great, Melody. That's a really neat example. We saw some others. There's an organization that's not represented here today that did a little video, like a 3 or 4 minute takeoff of It's a Wonderful Life. They literally filmed a little It's a Wonderful Life takeoff that was all about, ultimately donating to the organization. So those are creative ways that people got some different stuff out there that was shareable.
That's cool.
Any other comments on kind of different neat things or any other topic you want to raise?
Well, this is Nancy here from Park Lawn. We have been kind of brainstorming a little bit about how we're going to continue to kind of cultivate the 83 new donors that we received on Giving Tuesday. So when a new donor donated to us on Giving Tuesday through our website, we had them indicate how they heard of Park Lawn, how they heard of Giving Tuesday, who they are affiliated with, whether it's one of our board members, one of our families, one of our staff. So we have that information, and we're going to take that information and invite all of these new donors to an upcoming business after hours that we're holding in May. But the way we're going to invite them is we're going to go back to that original contact, that family, that board member, and we're going to say, this person, Joe Smith, donated to us because of you, so I want you to invite this new donor to our business after hours, whether it's a personal phone call or an email or a personal invitation. So we want to try to, if we can get 10% of these new donors into our building to learn about our programs and see firsthand how their donation that day is helping our programs, thrive and, keeping us going and our doors open, I think that would maybe hopefully increase their year-end giving for this year compared to what they gave to us last year.
Great.
So it's not really affiliated so much with social media, but it's more of kind of like a hands-on kind of way to cultivate these new donors to our organization.
You bet.
Clark?
Yeah.
This is Ann Sycon.
Yeah, Ann, hi.
Hi. I was just going to mention that what we found helpful with younger donors was really reaching out through our staff and through other families that, participate with a lot of our activities and events to that younger, to the nieces, the nephews, the sons, the daughters that are on college campuses today. And that often what we find is a lot of those young people also have personal connections and understanding of, life for individuals with disabilities and what some of those challenges are. And they set up their networks going out, and some of them even set up their own events, like this is going to be an event. And it was very interesting to see how that spread out through other areas. And if you can get them strategically located across multiple different college campuses, you really get a pretty good spread of coverage.
And do you have a particular example that you could share with us of something that took place?
Well, I would just say, Clark, quite honestly, some of the example that we saw was with my own children, my own daughters,
yeah.
And the number of their friends, because I was getting dinged every time their friends, my daughter had set it up somehow where she'd let me know when she was having more of her friends out at Wisconsin or out on the East Coast, because I have them located differently. They're at different colleges.
Yeah.
When they were contributing. And so it was interesting. I think it's because, again, that personal connection that they have themselves because of their brother, but also I think it was the connection that they have to their friends. Their friends were more willing to make, a $5 donation. So it was not, what you'd call a large donation, but it certainly made people more aware and started, this younger group, just making them more aware of the challenges for individuals with disabilities and one way that they could make a difference in that.
Yeah, thanks, Ann. We actually got a lot of feedback that indicated, and you gave a good example of kind of the expanding networks that you're able to tap into. But on the point of staff, organizations really talked about how they activated their staff to get into their networks. And maybe this was a staff that hadn't always been kind of part of the development process, but all of a sudden today, Giving Tuesday, this is something where they could be an advocate for the organization in a fundraising way. And so staff members got out with their individual networks and were able to do some neat things. So you've got another example of kind of the next generation of the family associates of staff and people in the organization. So those are neat examples. I'm just throwing up some other lessons learned and comments that we received. But as you kind of look through this, feel free to jump in with any question that you have. If you're sitting back and saying, hey, I didn't want to ask a question of this group of 10 or 15 folks that were kind of doing the same thing that I was doing, this is the time to get your question out there.
I would like to, I don't know if there was submission, Clark, of ways that that people got the staff mobilized to do this. When I listened to Melody talk about her staff, and I mean, Melody has 5 staff total. Is that what you said, Melody?
It's the equivalent of 5.25 employees.
Okay. I have that many people in my fundraising office, and we've got, you know, a lot more staff outside of that. I mean, I think over 430 staff at Elam. And because we have professional staff doing fundraising and have had those people doing fundraising for years and years and years, there's just this missing sense of grassroots involvement, how everybody can play a role. And we are certainly doing a lot of stuff to get that word out there that everybody can help out, everybody can play a part. But we've just so indoctrinated our community over the years to see fundraising as a responsibility of paid professionals who know what they're doing, that it's hard. We found it very difficult and challenging to mobilize our staff to really take advantage of these opportunities. I'd say that 9 times out of 10, I mean, we communicate well. I email all of our staff every week. I go and visit their meetings and talk to them in person. I'm sitting down with them after their day is over to find out, you know, what their challenges are. But at the end of the day, I could go and talk to 10 people and tell them, hey, don't forget we're doing this Great Giving Tuesday thing, and make sure you send that email on to all your friends and family, and it will really help a lot. They don't see what's in it for them. And we have, no matter, it doesn't seem like anything we do really gets that message across. So I'd love to hear what other people are doing to mobilize their staff to participate in the fundraising process. I mean, if we got 10% of our staff to get really mobilized, that would change the whole landscape of our fundraising program.
Yeah, great question,
wow.
Dan. Is there anyone who wants to respond to Dan's question?
Well, this is Melody again. The one thing that, you know, there's advantages to being a small shop as well, but we literally on Giving Tuesday all sat in a group and watched the emails from our volunteer base, from our Facebook friends saying, how's Healing Pathways doing in the campaign? You know, people actually went back and gave, you know, in other ways because they just wanted us, they knew how we felt about it. We shared our excitement about it. And, you know, my administrative assistant, who I would never have expected to jump in there at the rate she's paid, trust me, literally sent it to her family all over the country, and her entire family made contributions. And, you know, it was this level of enthusiasm that came through, and as we sat around, it was one of our most fun days of work because we were like cheering every time, and you know, we all brought our lunches together and we said, okay, let's get an update, let's see where we're at. And just, you know, it ended up being not only just a great fundraiser and fundraiser, it was a great way for our tiny little staff to come forward and say, oh my God, we all did this. We all put it on our own pages. We all sent out our messages together and to our own circle of friends. And the dialogue continued for like 2 weeks because there was so much energy around this thing. And I have to say, you know, it literally brought me to tears personally because board members were phoning in, the volunteers that were racing to answer the phones just to say, how are we doing? How are we doing? What's it look like? You know, and it just created this beautiful culture of, you know, we're going to make this happen. We feel blessed to be selected by the Coleman Foundation, and we're going to give it a giant company embrace and effort. And so for me, it was really fun. This was my first year as executive director, and I just felt so motivated by the spirit behind this thing.
Great, Melody, thank you. Is there anyone else who had a way of activating their staff to participate?
Craig, we had a luncheon for our staff at Patty.
Yeah.
And we also had same thing. We have kind of a communal staff room too, and said, okay, this is the time to start blasting right now. And had lunch brought in, and said, let's start blasting. And that may be a suggestion for Elam too, or to have maybe a staff after party after school closes. You know, free dinner. You stay.
Yeah.
We have the computer set up for you. Even kind of like the way United Way, when they go out to the corporations and try to get their employees to give. And they, the United Way has all kinds of strategies like to get their employees to give, and sometimes I try to use those same strategies at the center as well. As I'll give you a vacation day if you do this, or you can get one extra vacation day whoever raises the most money, or here's a gift card to Mario Tricosti if you do that. You might have to incentivize them to even just come in and give out prizes for anyone that comes in after school and starts blasting. You blasted 10 people, and your name goes in a list for a free dinner somewhere.
Yeah,
I like
sometimes
that.
you have to teach. You have to teach you have to teach them that it's not your fundraising. It's everybody. Everybody belongs to it, and everybody has to give. But you might have to kind of strong arm them, get them in.
My experience has been that it's not that our employees and staff and parents are unwilling to do it. It's just getting them over that little hump. It's like one more thing they have to do. So I like the idea of a little kind of incentive just to get them to take that little step that they're just, for some reason, it's just one more thing that they have to do and they don't want to do it for whatever reason. And I like that thinking. Thank you.
I think it's interesting. This is Tracy from the Economic Awareness Council again. I like the in-person aspect of the luncheon because I think there was one other organization that did this as well. But whether it's a real event and you're donating online at a real event, or if it's a mock event, but for some reason, if you're invited to something, it seems like people are so much more likely to do it. So if you can have something set up where people can then share the invite, that just seems to be an easy way that then people almost feel, more obligated if it's staff sharing with their friends and family, and they're officially inviting them to be part of something. So I think that kind of in-person mix with the online is interesting.
Yeah, I would agree. One of the things, though, that we tried to do, and it worked pretty well last year for us, but we tried to keep this as much a social media thing as we could. We didn't really want to send out letters or flyers letters home or anything like that. We wanted to, just generate all the activity socially. So just to challenge ourselves to try to think differently about how we do this, because it's so easy for us to just say, well, we've got 500 people we serve on our campus and 400 staff, so print out 1,000 flyers, put a few on the desk, and we've got the word out. We wanted to think differently about how we did this, and maybe we'll have to reassess that for this next year. But I do think that it has to be a mix of the two. I mean, you can't just you certainly can't depend on posting on Facebook or Twitter, and I mean, that's what we found. We had all kinds of fans on Facebook and Twitter. That didn't help us as much as we thought it would. So
we found that our staff was, for some reason, extremely excited about participating, but what we also found out about our staff is that there was a large number of our staff that didn't know how to retweet things. So this year we've been working more with starting to do in-services on social media, and the whole concept of that creation of communities of passion, and that's so much, you know, what we want to be able to tap into are, you know, like communities who are passionate about what we're doing. So it's really teaching our staff how to even do some of the basics and how to even, you know, use your Facebook page. But a lot of our staff the younger staff had it down with their eyes closed. But some of our staff who wasn't in that category, I would say we've really found that we needed to step back and do some in-service inside to help expand how successful this can be next round.
Great, Ann.
That's excellent. I love that idea.
Well,
the in-service idea is excellent.
We're just about at the top of the hour, and we're happy to continue going. But if you need to drop off, you know, we certainly understand. Thank you for being part of the call. But we put up a few more lessons learned here up on the screen, just some new content there. And I'd like to open it up to any new questions. If there are any other topical areas that anyone would like to pursue on the call, please voice those now.
Clark, would you mind sending out this presentation to everybody, possibly?
Yeah, I will certainly do that.
Okay, thank you.
I can do that in a future mailing. One thing that we would like to pursue, if you don't mind, is following up on a question that we asked as part of the survey. As we're trying to assess, you know, what the Coleman Foundation might want to do going forward, we're interested in your feedback. And obviously, many of you responded to the survey, so we have your thoughts on that. But the Donors Forum is actually engaging on what is intended to be a broader effort around their Illinois Gives Big campaign, so that Giving Tuesday is not going to be the only manifestation of a campaign to increase individual giving. And there's going to be more information released in coming days and weeks about that. But we're also trying to find our role, you know, related to that. So we're very interested in your thoughts, your suggestions, your recommendations on the way in which we can better support your success in engaging new donors going forward. So again, I'll just open the call to any questions that you might want to offer and ask to one another, or thoughts you might have regarding how the foundation can support you in a Giving Tuesday 2015 manner. Don't be bashful. Any question's a good question.
I'm questioned out, Clark.
It seems we all are. Great. Well, if there are no further questions, we thank you very much for participating on the call today. Hopefully this has given you an opportunity to learn a little bit from your colleagues that were involved in the program last year. We have recorded this call, so it will be available, and we'll make that known through an email for you to view later. And additionally, we have one more of these calls taking place a week from today, and so we'll have a recording of that one if you'd like to view that one as well. So in closing, thanks very much for being part of the Matching Grants program and for sharing with one another. And we look forward to working with you going forward in 2015 to increase individual giving. Thank you, and have a good week.
Thank you. Thanks so much,
Thank
Mike
you.
and Clark.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.